Hello, everybody. Hi, 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 hi. Hello, my students, my friends, my followers, or just strangers who uh, serendipitously stumbled onto this live broadcast, of which right now I have exactly 0 people. But still, hi. Today is Wednesday, and it's 6 p.m. So I'm continuing with my Shelter and Peace series, the show about all things spiritual. So, this is a broadcast where we speak about nothing, where we speak about spirituality, we speak about life, love, uh, philosophy, society, and I am your uber enlightened host, Artem. So, uh, please join. You can use the link to StreamYard down below in the comments to join live right on the screen next to me, and we can have a conversation. So please, you can ask me questions. So we can have a dialogue. So I am making this broadcast 4 times a week, and if you are new here, then I will also show you. I will show you. I will show you my website over here, where you can read a bunch of articles that I wrote. And so starting next week, I'm going to do less of that. But so there's still Alejandro right now, and 2 people watching, and Alejandro will ask me questions, I hope. And then also I have some questions from my students and from other people who couldn't join. You can also post questions in the comments and stuff like that. So we will, regardless of how it goes today, I will speak a little bit about on the topic of a question I was asked to address by David, who is one of my students who is not here, uh, and then we'll see if there's more content. Oh, and also Alejandro has a couple of things that he would like to discuss, which almost happy to. Yeah, and also uh, yeah, I guess that's it. So uh, so I'd like to touch a little bit today upon the topic of conspiracy and anxiety and a bunch of other stuff. So I would actually like to read you the question that David asked me, which I think maybe some other people would be able to relate. So David uh, wrote to me. Um, he said the question is how to make sense of what's happening. I think that he I don't think that he means what's happening internally. I think that he means, I mean, in this question specifically, he's speaking about coronavirus and things like that. So he is speaking about what's happening in the world. How to see clearly through the misinformation on both sides, mainstream and conspiracy. I can't attend. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. So that actually wasn't a very good description of his question. His question was a little bit. I think I lost it. But basically, he was saying that he's experiencing fear and anxiety. He has been watching, some of the content which insinuated, one way or the other that coronavirus is a conspiracy, something else is a conspiracy. So there's a lot of documentaries which kind of which explore, the idea that one or more uh, illnesses of the society is, or some even events, is a result of kind of a secret collusion of a small group of people, which is kind of what conspiracy is, right? And some of those documentaries are very well made and things like that. And David is can feel confused and anxious and fearful, and he asked me the question. And David, has also has some spiritual experiences, so there's some deep egoic fear that is being uncovered in him. So it's not, he's not just a kind of ordinary guy. Uh, so so the it's not a coincidence. So I wanted to speak about it because it is not a coincidence that you will find a lot of conspiracy theory and a lot of kind of alternative views of the world, and some of them are very, let's say, uh, how would I put it, like evil flavored. Let's put it this way, like conspiracy flavored, right? So it's not a coincidence that you will find a lot of views like that in spiritual community, right? It's not a coincidence. So it's not a coincidence that those ideas, that those documentaries, that those ideas become more attractive, and your mind starts exploring those ideas and things like that. But it's absolutely not a coincidence. So I mean, one thing is fear. Another thing is just general openness and relaxation of the mind's exploratory and explanatory framework, right? So you are kind of more open to all kinds of suggestions. And then another thing is that, which is very, very important, extremely important, is that in the spiritual process, you get exposed to the malice of ego, right? So the reality is that you're exposed to your own malice, but other people are kind of like you, and your malice is not actually your malice. Your malice was instilled in you by society. You kind of picked it up, and other people are in similar shoes. So you kind of, at some point of the awakening, you truly open your eyes to how malicious the world is around you, and how malicious some people are around you. And it's connected to also realization of how to slowly start to realize how malicious you are, or have been, and just generally how malicious ego is. So those kind of, there's a natural attraction to the conspiracy theories, and another reason that I wanted to mention is dogma. Because like conspiracy theories is kind of anti-dogma. They offer an alternative, much less accepted view of the world, which explains some things that kind of a more kind of mainstream view of the world, in which there's much more of like, okay, everything is not as bad, everything is pretty okay, which they don't explain. Like, for example, it is much easier to think that actually, I'll make this point afterwards. Yes. So dogma, right? So you want to kind of do away with the existing dogma, and you want to expand your array of things that you consider. But actually, the interesting thing is that the truth about conspiracy theories is like it is even like, for example, the way that I view conspiracy theories personally, right, after everything that I went through, is even less dogmatic, actually, than mainstream. I mean, so meaning that I am way more critical of conspiracy theories than before, than most atheists are, than pretty much almost everybody is, right? So it actually went to the opposite direction in my case, and there's a reason for that. Right. Although, like, there were moments when I had a period in my life when I used to work at Google at the time, and I used to consume an incredible amount of documentaries about Zeitgeist and Zeitgeist 2, and like about all the the conspiracy of the bankers, the conspiracy of the Federal Reserve, and everything. And actually, there's a lot of truth to that. So like those documentaries, they have a lot of truth, right? The if they speak about historical events, which you can check, right? Then actually, so for example, kind of the secret meetings that created our currently like very exploitative banking system, in which like a private bank loans money to the government. I mean, do I believe that like those secret meetings happened? Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, I do believe that. What I don't believe, and I mean, if somebody told me that they didn't, I wouldn't be really surprised. But I'm not surprised that they did. What is really different with regards to how I view conspiracy theories is that what I find really, really unlikely and really, really objectionable is that there's a bunch of malicious players that are interested in their own good, and they get together to perform some evil act, and they know perfectly well that this is evil. They know perfectly well that this is horrible. They all look at each other's eyes and like, yeah, we're gonna fuck them up. And they do that to like the rest of the population while perfectly aware of what they're doing, how, and then why they have to be very careful, why nobody has to know about it. So basically, like, let's fuck the whole world over, and nobody will know about it, right? That's the conspiracy theory, right? And that almost never happens. I mean, people are just too fucked up. Basically, it is much harder actually to accept that the result it's harder emotionally because it's truer. I mean, truth is not like black and white, right? I'm not saying that there are no collusion, right? But the real collusion, the real conspiracy looks kind of like Enron, not what people imagine, right? And Enron, like, so a bunch of people go running around, very excited, thinking that they're doing great, right? Just losing the moment where they started doing like crazy things, and they become extremely violent, destructive, right? Completely like carried away with greed. And then later it all comes tumbling down, and everybody runs off like rats from the ship, and then everybody talks about it. Everybody gets very shamed. That's kind of the extent to which conspiracy theories usually happen. So if you look at the like documentary about Enron, of course, like they know that it doesn't look very good. So while they're doing it, they kind of they kind of don't want the public to know about it, right? But so they overlook this and this and this, but internally they aren't very shy. So internally, kind of, they don't consider themselves bad people. They pursue success and things like that. And it's kind of was the same thing with cigarette smoke. You see, I mean, so all of the CEOs of tobacco companies, they didn't like collude in some room and say, okay, we're really going to give everybody cancer, but we're going to get much richer than that. So let's think about how nobody will find out about what we're doing. No. All of the CEOs actually thought that they were very good people, most likely. You see, so it's just much easier to kind of overlook all the evidence, to like, not, okay, yeah, there's some evidence that is good, but maybe not, like, let's not talk about it, kind of. So you see, because one person said a beautiful thing, and it's very, I don't remember who that was, right? But he was very, very right. He said, it is very easy to start believing something if your income, if your livelihood depends on it. So when you're getting paid to basically believe something, to kind of, or to do a job, which in order for you to do, and being okay with yourself, then you have to overlook how much damage or suffering your job, for example, is causing other people, right? If your salary depends on that, then we're also so psychologically biased. The ego, especially, ego is kind of our psychology. So the ego is absolutely psychologically biased, and and it is very easy to overlook what you are doing, and don't admit that, kind of come up with some excuse. Don't admit that what you're doing is bad if your status, your respect from other people, your career, your money and stuff depend on it. So this sort of deal with the devil, whatever, happens in subconscious and conscious, and it happens multiple times, and actually in a lot of us, right? It's just that most of us have never risen to positions where this can get really tested. And also, of course, people in position of power are disproportionately kind of self-centered, because it somewhat, right, somewhat. There's a somewhat more self-centered people in the position of power, simply because if you are self-centered, then you're statistically more likely to exert a lot of effort to get into the position of power. It's if you look at it this way, it is you don't need to come up with very elaborate kind of explanation of what's going on. So it's much actually harder. The point that I was going to make, I actually forgot if I made it already, but even if I did, I would do it twice, because it's a very important point. It is much harder actually to accept that what we're seeing is a result of some processes. It is a result of basically a bunch of selfish actors that delusionally think that they are good people, working in a system which is designed to emphasize greed and exploitation, but most people delusionally think that it is designed to motivate. You see, because we think that kind of the profit focused system is wonderful because of great motivation. Just to speak about how, like, just to mention how limited and infantile our idea about what motivates humans is, right? So it is easier to accept. I mean, it's harder to accept that pretty decent people, but in kind of good people, actually wonderful people, but in egoic confusion, in egoic dreaming, in a system which was built by the dreamers to emphasize things that shouldn't be emphasized, to emphasize suffering, basically. See, so that those people will together, without any coordination, like thinking mostly talking to each other, sure, but mostly pursuing their own interests and thinking that their interests are aligned with the interests of society. Don't forget that. Sometimes at least of the country, sometimes of the whole world. Like the people that founded Federal Reserve were probably thinking that they will be great help to the government, like win-win. So it's much harder to accept that those people operating this way can create this horrendous results, because the whole system, the psyche, the whole condition, like everything needs to be reevaluated. Everything. It's not just one bad apple. No, it's not just one bad apple. The system produces these results consistently, right? It's much harder to accept that than to accept that there are just a bunch of bad apples that got together, colluded, and if only, because then, like, if only we could get rid of that, that's it. Yeah, we gotta be happy. If those guys who exploit us in this echelons of power, if we don't allow them to get together and like do their conspiracies, then we're gonna be happy. No. The system is fundamentally exploitative. We built this system because our psyche is fundamentally exploitative. Never gonna so that's one argument. Another argument against conspiracies theory is just people are just too, moved by other things. People, like, you have to imagine a very strange thing, like for example, that Americans never were in the moon. There is this was a project historically, at least from what I know, which hundreds of thousands of people were involved with, right? Hundreds of thousands. So that means that if you can check for yourself, right? Like Go to some libraries, go to some whatever, Library of Congress, whatever. Like start looking at this records of people that were working on anything that was connected to the moon expedition, whatever, right? Find those people, start calling those people. Some of them are still alive, right? So there was probably like thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that were working on something related to it, right? And then speak to them, right? Were you really working on that, right? And you will find so much, right? So if it was a conspiracy that all of them would be first lying, then they would all this is the most mind-boggling part, because they would all need to take their lies to their grave. That is the biggest problem with conspiracy. And actually, I realized it some time ago. I realized it like when I was like 35 or something like this, or 30. Like, is that the biggest problem with conspiracy is that if it's large enough, right? So if you have like, for example, imagine how many people would have to be involved so that 9/11 would be an inside job. There would be like probably thousands of people, well, at least hundreds. Like there would be a lot of people, like not just two. So if there's like two or three, then like but we wouldn't even call it a conspiracy, right? But if there's a large number of people involved, and there's a secret, there's a shared secret, right? A shared secret, then what tends to happen is that when people have nothing to lose, they tend to spill it out. Because like, okay, you can say, well, okay, there's patriotism, but not everybody's moved by patriotism. I mean, some people, like, you have nothing to lose. Like, imagine when a situation when you have nothing to lose and you have a secret that the whole country will be like, I mean, there's CNN, there's press, write a book, whistleblow, and you're gonna get a tremendous amount of attention. And if we're speaking about a conspiracy theory in which hundreds of thousands of people were involved, you see, just imagine how much material would be first, not the material of, I think that is how it was happening, not the material of somebody who decided to do their own investigation. No, the material and content of somebody who was involved in the conspiracy theory and right now is sort of confessing and putting it all to light. Like, imagine how much things there would be, because we have books like The Confessions of the ex-FBI agent, the Confession of an ex-assassin or something, where people who were spies, who were terminating other people for political reasons, speak about their experience. And you were telling me, for example, that like 200,000 people theoretically, like supposedly, I don't remember how many, like were involved in the moon mission, and none of them wrote that there was a lie. You see, so it's kind of the same with coronavirus right now, right? So be careful. Like the mind, there's so many reasons for why conspiracy theories are attractive, and they all psychological mostly, and they are also oftentimes emphasized greatly, or if you have a tendency to think this way or whatever it is, so you kind of deal with that during the spiritual awakening also. So there are a lot of reasons, but the truth is always, at the same time, the truth is always first of all more simple, second of all more ugly. You see, because the truth is always harder to accept than the fiction. It's actually harder to accept because it means we're more fucked up. It means that until all of us will start seeing things for what they are, if the majority of us are dreaming, that there will always be dreamers that get on top for the power, prestige, that they will lie and things like that, and we will build systems of exploitation, and we will build system automatically, kind of naturally, and nobody will have any master plan, which can be fixed or thrown away. It's actually much more terrifying if you think about it. It means it's worse. Like the situation is worse. Like every one of us needs to start looking, needs to start using their heart, using their mind, looking around, seeing what's going on. Every one of us, if we are to win, if we are to beat ignorance and to build a society which isn't cruel, which is loving, which is happy. So it's worse, and it's more simple at the same time, and it doesn't require some kind of weird conjecture. Just require understanding that people go for their own interests, but they just dilute it with regards to what their interests are, and their interest is oftentimes a prestige, power, legacy, and they oftentimes think that manipulation of the masses is also the best way to go, and they genuinely believe that. You see, the argument against democracy, for example, and capitalism, right? Which is there's a contradiction, because democracy is also democracy, if it's true, if it's real, right, implies that we can get together and say, well, let's redistribute wealth from rich person to poor ones, and if we vote for that, then, well, sorry, rich guys, we did that. That's what democracy, right? So democracy is a fundamental conflict, actually, with private property or capitalism, right? So some people who are working at the top, right? They're not stupid. They understand that. I mean, there were a lot of, like, even Aristotle wrote about it, even, and in 20th century people write about it. So they understand that. They just make a choice that, like, because from what they think they know of human nature, then democracy needs to be curtailed, not capitalism, because otherwise, like, people will go all sorts of crazy and start to, like, where are our pitchforks, and we're gonna, like, and there would be chaos and mayhem, and they believe that, you see, and that actually there might be some truth to that, actually, because we're all kind of fucked up a little, you see. That is why, for example, I wouldn't even go into politics, you see, because how you kind of, I mean, of course, there are a lot of things that we can do, like improve our prison system and things like that. Obviously. But my point is, I mean, it's a valid question how to deal with society that is so hurt and lives in such pain that there is a lot of kind of violence that is pent up. You see, for example, like poor Black communities. I mean, there's just a lot of pent up anger. You see, or some other communities which are discriminated against, and again, not by individual people. No, that's the madness of it all. Individual people, like 99% of people could love minorities, but the system still discriminates against them. And by the system, I don't mean capitalism, like just our culture. We have so much stuff wrong with our culture, including this incredibly stupid idea that everybody needs to, like, pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and it doesn't matter where you're born. Like, statistically, it matters tremendously where you were born in the United States when it comes to income mobility and things like that. So yeah, I mean, people tell those lies because they believe in them. I mean, that's the mad part of it, because they need to build a worldview that substantiates their current position in it. Every ego needs to build a worldview of a society that especially happy, like, and successful ego that substantiates its position in the society, and as a result, if this position is very favorable, very good, then that rationalizes the much worse positions in society of other people, right? And you can rationalize with anything: laziness, stupidity, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But all you have to do is you kind of have to, like, say, well, it's kind of their fault, right? Because if you admit that it's not, then we have to, like, really, it starts to be a question of really putting a lot of resources into, let's say, integrating Black people into society, which actually hasn't. I mean, it happened to a huge extent, but it hasn't happened completely yet, right? So if we're speaking about doing more, right? Then we're speaking about more resources, and we're speaking about more taxes and redistribution of wealth and things like that. And there's always this conflict, right? So the rationalization of the current view of the world, and if you want to change it, then somebody will have to lose something. So the society tries to prevent status quo without any conspiracy, just by everybody rationalizing their position and saying, well, if I am up there, that means, well, I made it. It's my accomplishment, you know, and so kind of that. And then if somebody didn't make it, then it's their problem. So that sort of self-serving bias is actually has been proved. I think it's called. I don't remember what it's called, but this bias has been proven many times. So like many psychological studies and stuff like that. And that is the bias that creates a very unequal society. And it's all psychological biases. It's only possible to really kind of eradicate it, to really see through it, to really understand your own self-serving subjectivity when you disidentify with the ego, because the ego is the source of all self-serving subjectivity. I mean, we're all self-servingly subjective, but my point is that most of us are not nearly aware of how much. Right. So when we are being self-servingly subjective, we think that we're objective, and we're ready to argue, and we're ready to prove, and ready to act, and that's why, you know, people there's a lot of people who are acting, and a lot of people, a lot of CEOs and stuff. They work a lot, and they want to kind of better the society. So we have a lot of good-willed people, and still bad results because there's just too much confusion. Yes. So that's what I wanted to speak about conspiracy theory, and it gives anxiety and fear, and again, I mean, there are many videos of how to deal with fear, and you would know what I would say, and I would say, be fearful, surrender to the fear, just experience how the fear manifests in the body, the usual. The fear probably has nothing to do with coronavirus, so that is just an excuse probably for you to go into conspiracy theories, to experience more anger and disgust at all the inequality and of the world, and also experience fear. So just in some level, you know, can I keep that in mind? That on some level, when you're watching this documentary, it's very emotionally entertaining, but keep that in mind, that like if you that they're not a very good source of information. That if you double check for yourself, sure, yes, but kind of those documentaries sometimes cross the line a little bit into like drama from a more kind of objective documentary that doesn't really have a good documentary, doesn't have its own agenda, basically. So a good documentary shows agendas of other people. So it interviews people from both sides. So you can tell a good documentary from a bad documentary, but it does involve some kind of habit of checking things out for yourself, which is a wonderful habit, right? So you can consume anything as spiritual practice. So like if you pay attention to how it affects you inside. But when it comes to forming opinions about how the world works or information, like you can only use your mind, right? Because if I want to figure out how gravity works, then I would use my brain. So if you want to figure out if something happened or not, then you can try to do research. And yeah, so I hope it covers this question. Hold on. Let's see. Hi, Alex. Hi, Alejandro. Tom. Hi, Tom. You are muted, and I cannot unmute you. And you don't have any video. I would love to see who you are, if you have any questions or anything. Okay, well, you don't show up. So then we have Alejandro and Alex. Hi guys. You guys, I
Hey,
see
Artem.
time. Hi guys. Hi guys.
Hey,
How's it
Yes.
going?
Yes. So
Good.
I have some comments from new people, and I'm sorry, I see you all the time, but some of the people that just showed up, I would like to give them some attention. So uh, Jason says, "Hi, I am either doing really well or I feel like I'm about to snap." Huh? Yeah, yeah. I think I understand that. Yeah, but I mean, well, you snap. If you snap, you'll snap out of it sooner or later, right? So don't kind of be afraid to snap, right? And by snap, I don't mean hurt anybody, right? Don't harm anybody ever. Don't harm yourself. Don't harm anybody else, right? But don't be afraid to kind of snap. It's fine. It's fine. We're so afraid to snap. We're so afraid internally, right? To kind of don't snap at people, but don't be afraid to snap. But I understand it, and it can be very difficult. Yes. Alex and Jack Ding says, "What do you think about growing mental health crisis in the West and how it is being treated?" So I think this is a very good topic, and I spoke about it. So I assume that you're not speaking about coronavirus, but basically what I think is we as a society became much better to suppressing the most intense of the egoic manifestations, which is violence, right? But I mean physical violence. So we are having left less outlets for our pain and aggression. So a long time ago, the main outlet for pain and aggression was family. That's what I think, and that's what I've seen. So now there are more people living alone, and also it's much less acceptable to be a dick in the family, and especially to the children. It's much less acceptable to hit children. It's much less acceptable to even shout at children. So whether people want or not, they are more restrained in the family. We're also much more restrained at work. We're much more restrained everywhere. We started to to kind of I forget the word to kind of bug that one to bang on language on hurtful language, social justice, everything, anywhere, at work, on the street, and stuff like that. So we became very sensitive because we have a lot of pain. So we started to be even more polite to each other. Even we try to be even more considerate. But the pain is still there, right? But as a result of that, it's the same pain that is directed inwardly. And if it's directed inwardly, then it manifests as depression, suicidal ideation, deaths of despair, which people say is up significantly, like depression, alcoholism, things like that, or kind of all sorts of other what is called like psychological illnesses, including bipolar disorder and everything, right? So when somebody like Sadhguru, I think, said something, I he just said it. It's like, I don't know. He said, I think in some years, half the population will be depressed. Well, I understand what he meant, right? So he meant exactly that, right? So we aren't, as a society, we're not developing spiritually at all, actually. So the new generation of the people is absolutely the same as the old generation. But what changes are the roles, right? So externally, it becomes like all kinds of violence and now verbal conflict. It becomes less and less acceptable externally, right? But we have all of that inside of us still, right? So it becomes kind of an internal struggle, or we kind of suppress and hold it in until we become really intimate with somebody, and then it breaks away. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's going to get worse, and it's not just a improvements in treatments, which is actually wonderful. Like from my perspective, I mean, I know it sounds weird, but from my perspective, ego basically is mental illness. All mental illnesses are just ego. Like from my perspective, mental illness is just a greater manifestation of ego, right? So from my perspective, I was mentally ill, basically, right? And I was, because I was depressive, right? So I had depressions. But from my perspective, a person who is happy and doesn't have depressions, but if he doesn't, like, if he's kind of turned out on the happy side, right, is also mentally ill. It's just on the happy side, but he's very cruel usually. So uh, it is it's not like a good prognosis, right? So there is a certain reason why kind of we have an increase of mental illness while the society becomes safer and safer, and the living standard improves and improves, and we have more and more free time and live in less and less hardships. But and there's more and more mental health, right? Because kind of while you are struggling to survive every day, your ego doesn't matter, right? It can whine or not whine, or it can be very happy or sad, but it doesn't matter. You're still going to do everything you want to survive, and whether you think it's a fun game your whole life, or you think it's a horrible misery, it doesn't matter, right? But you just won't have time. You will do what needs to be done, right? When you have a lot of time, little violence, everybody's so polite, like what it's a very different situation. So that is why kind of in Western societies we kind of tend to get off the deep end, like in terms of, so yeah, that's a part of it, unfortunately, and it becomes apparently, like, abundantly clear of why it's happening and where it's headed. Alexandra asks me a question she says, Artem, why isn't psychospiritual development more well known or talked about? Wonderful question, and it's a huge tragedy, and I think it is exactly because it is so difficult and nobody really wants to talk about it. I mean, no ego wants to talk about it. It is very difficult to talk about it, and so you kind of have to get to a specific point in life to start talking about it. What is tragic, though, is that when you do, there's still not a lot of information, right? So at the very least, well, there's internet, but if you don't know what to look for, if you just like watch TV, YouTube and stuff, you might not even have encountered it at all, right? So when you know what to look for, there's an abundance of information, and it's very well known. It's a lot talked about. There are conferences, there are teachers, like, so easy to find. But if you don't know what to look for, right, in mainstream culture, spirituality, enlightenment, not as kind of a religiosity, but as a very tangible process of increasing well-being, is by sort of becoming more truthful, by bending lies, is absolutely unknown, like completely, right? So even using psychedelics to achieve long-term gains in well-being is out of mainstream. It's not discussed. Like it starts to be discussed very rarely on some shows and whatever. And we don't really understand, even like mainstream culture absolutely has zero understanding of how any increase of psychological well-being works. I mean, there's psychotherapy and everything like that, but nobody really understands how it works. I mean, when people really start doing research, they usually get the results that psychotherapy works as well as placebo or talking to pretty much anybody. It's not like entirely true in terms of I don't want to discount psychiatrists and stuff that work with schizophrenia and things like that. They of course don't know what's going on, and they usually take them to the wrong direction. But what I'm saying is that I would never say that they are ineffective. They actually can be effective, and especially if they use medicine, which I think is a bad idea. But I mean, again, right? Depends on the context. Do you want to stay functional? Do you want to kind of go deeper and to have the support? Right. So their job is to usually get a person back to functionality. So they actually can be quite effective. But when it comes to like talking to your counselor and or therapist, if you have depression or anxiety, then I think I'm not mistaken. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I think statistically, like the effectiveness of that is about the same as effectiveness talking to anybody else, which is kind of which also makes sense to me. Yes. So as a which is as a part of culture, it's not a part of culture. For example, psychology is a part of culture. Therapy is a part of culture, right? Psychotherapy is a part of culture. Even Freud is a part of culture. What does it mean to be a part of culture? It means that if you ask a random person about it, he will probably know what you're talking about, right? And spirituality is not a part of culture, like at all, right? So why? Maybe because it's too difficult. Like maybe it's because the culture isn't ready yet. But we have to, if we want to survive after I die, after everybody dies, and oh, sorry. I didn't mean to say that. What I meant to say, like after this generation of people, this generation, like we, and it's anybody, everybody. But my point is, if we do want to change it, right? So the only way to do it is to speak about it more, to have more realized people speak about it more, and more. I mean, psychology, therapy, regardless of whether it works or not or how good it is, I mean, it helps a lot of people. It helped me tremendously, at least subjectively. Like I'm forever grateful to a lot of my therapists. But what I meant to say is it did not become a part of culture instantly, right? It took time, right? So a century ago, no one even, like 2 centuries ago, no one even knew anything about, you know, therapy. So it's the same. I think we are kind of in the very beginning of this process, and I think the fact that we kind of entered this information age where the information is now available and we're all connected, right? So this information is for the first time in our history, the information about spirituality and became readily available to everybody. This for the first time in history, right? So yeah, we could say like we too fucked up, and it's been like 24 centuries since Buddha, and look, we're at the same place. Sure, yeah, but also you can look at it from the other perspective, and look at the realities of the situation, and how the things that are becoming available right now were never actually available before. So there is some case for optimism here, but again, I want to insist that like the only way for it to be a part of culture is for more people to experience the tangible benefits of this process, and not just in a woo-woo way, but in a very kind of mundane way. And like Adia had, for example, or Rupert, or like any of the teachers. And so the more people are like that, and the more it becomes part of culture, part of the cognitive landscape, then we'll make strides. So that's why I want to focus on teaching instead of anything else, pretty much, and just based on the situation, like if it was a part of culture, if I kind of if it was just like therapy, right? So when I was depressed, right? So like how did I even get to this idea to go to a therapist, right? So the same thing, right? So just like usually when you are get out of depression, you don't get this immediate idea of, oh my god, that was so awesome, I will become a therapist now. If we had a situation where it was a part of culture, it would be on TV, like it would be just the same as we have with therapy. It probably wouldn't have occurred to me to become a teacher after I sort of did my thing, right? But we're not in this situation. And so when you go through something like this, and you see that there are pretty much zero therapists, there are like only like very, very few, and very few known, and it's hard to get to someone. Then you sort of, then I mean, how can I contribute to the society? So I want to help. But uh, yeah, but the direction of help is to to improve awareness, basically, uh, for the society, for the general society. I mean, for yourself, you improve self awareness. Yeah. Why isn't health and well being more focused? Yeah, that's the egoic tragedy. Ego cares about things that don't matter. And it cares about them deeper than about things that matter. That's how confused it is. We're like, we have always been this confused. Just imagine sending your son to battle for anything. How confused you must be, to participate in any war, pretty much, I would say, or to participate or engage in any act of violence, unless it's self-defense, right? So we think that, just look at what people sacrifice for their career or success. I think so. We are ready to sacrifice very real things that forever uh, uh, Im- that forever affect our quality of life, such as for health of the body, for imaginary things, psychological things that promise to bring us happiness, but never deliver in the long run. But we keep running and running and running after this carrot. Yes, that is this the ultimate conspiracy? Yes, that's the ultimate conspiracy of the ego. But that's the ultimate conspiracy. That's the ultimate tragedy. That's the ultimate conspiracy of the ego. But it happens inside each individual person. It doesn't happen in society. So that's why the society looks like it is a conspiracy, because no one talks about it. Not because there's a conspiracy suppression in society, because society mostly consists of people that don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear about it. You see, so so uh, so it's just one of this wonderful examples about how it looks like a conspiracy, whereas everybody is just an individual. You see, so it kind of a complicated system with individual players. There could emerge patterns where it would look like there is some intelligence. You see, and the same thing. Even if you compare cultures, if you compare different. I was thinking about this many times, actually. So because if you compare cultures, there's like this self like there's a certain image, an egoic image of a kind of a typical representative of a specific country. So when you compare countries, cultures, then you will see that they're almost like people. So this like tends to be very passionate, for example, or angry, or like easy to trigger. I don't know, like a very, very loud Italian, like I don't know, maybe something like this. But the point is that you look at, like, the difference in cultures between the different countries, the difference in temperaments, and it's almost like it's pretty much like the difference in temperaments between people. But does it mean that country has a temperament? No, people has temperaments, but as a consequence, like, they have some cultural difference, but as a consequence, the whole country, like, even sometimes, even on the arena of the foreign politics, behaves as a person with specific temperament, but doesn't mean that it is. No. So it's the same thing. Conspiracies are rare, but things that look like conspiracies because we all repeat stupid shit after each other and we're all confused and we keep ourselves confused. That happens all the time. Over 2,000 years since Gautama, yes. And before Gautama, and Gautama didn't change anything. You think Gautama changed anything? No. I mean, Gautama created 500 whatever he did, and that's what we have right now again. Sorry. Over 2,000 years since Gautama and other Buddhas and have gone saying similar things. Yes, the most intelligent people throughout history have been preaching similar things. Well, the luckiest ones, yes. But yes. History seems to repeat itself in a lot of ways. Yes. Why do we not learn from our mistakes? You cannot learn from somebody else's mistake. You see, that's the thing. You can only learn from your own. So that's why it's an individual journey, and that's why we have to focus individually, and the only reason that I think that it can change when the society changes is that because a society is a society that encourages an individual to learn from their mistakes, and that's why it can change, because our current society doesn't do that. It does not. It in general, it encourages the individual to hide their mistakes because we shame the individual for them, and sometimes we punish them for them. You see, so will intelligence, is humanity doomed? I don't think so. I'm actually very, very optimistic. I think, humanity has so much ingenuity. We're so smart. Life is so resilient. I don't think we're doomed. I think we can. We can. I think this is just a period of extremely juvenile development and extreme confusion. We sort of arose into very high intelligence through path that kind of made us carry this resilient cruelty into a situation where it had stopped being in any way valuable for the longest time. You see, so we are in the period where we can resolve our differences and get into a place where every one of us remembers that first of all we're people, and then we have our differences. But for now we kind of forgot about this first part, and we focus on the second all the time. So I don't think we're doomed. It's been getting better, but it will take time. Even some of the most intelligent, knowledgeable psychologists, psychiatrists, and health professionals to be just scratching the surface of human development. That is exactly correct. So if you want not to scratch the surface, then enlightenment is the only thing. Deuce says, here we go. Oh, okay. Eastern philosophy and spirituality seems to be often left out of the conversation. Yes, oftentimes, yes. How did I come across this and others who spend this entire lives? Do not. I didn't get the last one. I don't know, but it's great that you're here. Why don't more spiritual teachers speak out like Osha, make a bunch of noise and point out all the problems in society? Do they care? Are they not smart, lazy, scared? Good question. Well, first of all, I think that there are not a lot of people who realize this deeply as Osha. So in the current kind of scheme of things, I don't see anybody who can hold a candle to Osha. And the only person that I can think about is Adya, and I personally think that Adya lacks something that Osha had, or the other way around, depending on how you look into it. But maybe I'm completely wrong. You see, because there could also be made an argument that you are, when you're kind of in a rebellious phase, then there's kind of much more love and gentleness that will come to you. You see, because I also had a kind of very rebellious phase where I'll still like speak about society in very honest, candid terms, but I do tend to always like to pretty much like never make accusatory tone or anything with students. So I still kind of I became much gentler with students, and even when I say harsh truths, I kind of say them in a not in a rebellious way, so to speak, but this rebelliousness, you see, sooner or later you realize that provoking people aren't enough. You see, provoking, for example, what Jim Carrey did after very early after his awakening, and he started writing like provoking people, like drawing a caricature of Trump is not enough. Like we already hate each other. So what? I mean, so he like you draw a picture and then okay, and yeah, Trump is a snake, blah blah. Like everybody hates him. I mean, so what? It just creates more hate in the world. So so yes, it is a very sick society, but there is a balance. You can't just be speaking about how sick the society is. You have to give a path. You have to give an exit, right? I mean, yes, it is a sick society. Yes, you probably have a sick mind. Yes, I had a sick mind. Yes. No, well, now what? Now what? You see, it's a job of every one of us to get out. Only you can get out. Nobody can get out for you, right? So the conversations about how sick our society is and how much we need to change, they are important because people who feel that, people who know that, people who notice that, are also people who are ready to look deeper and to start deeper, to start seeing deeper. Uh, Not always, but oftentimes. So it's an important conversation, but it cannot be the conversation, because we built this society because we're a collection of individuals, and every one of us is specifically fucked up, and we build the society together, right? So we can speak a lot about how fucked up society is, but society is only fucked up because each and every one of us is fucked up, right? We can't be forgetting that. So that should be the focus always. So yes. So pointing out the problems in society, I think it has its place. Like Osha did it. I do it. I enjoy it. I think it's important. I'm being truthful when I do that. Why so few masters do it today? Uh, I frankly think that it has something to do with the depth, but I might be wrong. But I might be wrong because, like, when I see spiritual masters only focusing on awareness, then to me, it just it's just so shallow. I mean, the awareness is an instrument of truth. It's not truth, right? The focus must be on truth, and people forget that the truth is actually truth. It's not just, oh, the truth is everything objective and there is no truth. No, the truth is actually truth. So meaning that that the enlightened state is not just a state when you feel good. It's a state when you're true to yourself and you see uh, when people lie but still thinking it's true, right? You understand that, but you see how much lies we're telling each other every day, pretty much, right? So Adi, for example, understands this very well, and so looking at any spiritual teacher from this, at any spiritual teaching from this perspective, speaking about society, speaking about how we really treat each other, speaking about family, speaking about marriage in a very candid terms, can be extremely productive, and it can also be extremely unpleasant because when we hear something we know to be true, but we don't want to believe it, we don't like it. I mean, not believe it, but accept it. We don't want to accept it. We don't like it. So I think that it can be very important, but I don't think that it needs to be rebellious or provocative. So that is kind of my My answer to this question: do they not care? Are they not smart, lazy, scared? I mean, some don't see deep enough, or they can't speak about it themselves without getting angry because they haven't accepted it. Some might not think it's a very good teaching method, and they may be right. Maybe I'll stop speaking about it, but I don't think so. So I don't know. I don't know. I am similarly disappointed, actually, with the modern spiritual landscape. Uh, I'm honestly kind of, the more time goes, the less kind of, the harder it becomes to me to recommend certain teachers. But I would recommend the idea, of course. Of course, yes, he's wonderful. Okay, I mean, of those who's alive. Okay, so uh, Osha had balls. Yes, he had. Yes. What else is there to do? Once you're like, yeah, what else is there to do? Just well, if not rebellion, because rebellion is not the only way to bring positive change, and rebellion sometimes brings bad stuff, negative change. Like, look at the documentary about Osha. It didn't have to happen. You see, he had fire, sure, but he was also rebellious. He was also stupid and naive. And I think it was before, because he was enlightened when he was like 21 or something, right? He didn't really have a lot of, even though he read everything he could, he didn't really have a lot of real life experience dealing with people, right? So look at why, like, what is the point? Like this, this, kind of conflict between the sannyasins and the rest, like this orange people coming around and speaking, the to neighbors. I mean, trying to like convert them or bring them to the community. This kind of and you see, the interesting thing is Osha is not the source of this conflict. So Osha, it's just like all the time with enlightened people and their followers, and you have to be very careful. Uh, because you say something like, okay, well, the religious people are just, religion is just lying to you, and the next thing you know is some of your follower walks into a church and say, you're all a bunch of liars. And you see, I mean, like, look at what happened with I mean, he was a rebel, sure, but look where it gotten to, kind of assault rifles. I mean, come on, this conflict between those people that lived like close to his Rajishpuram and whatever, like in this town. They also just wanted, like, they just wanted to also kind of ordinary life. So so there is, my point is that this rebellion didn't achieve anything. You see, so it would have been much better if the city, this town that he created, continued. You see, without the conflict with the neighboring communities, because if it had continued and continued to grow in balance and harmony with the neighboring community, of course not without criticism, but if it continued to grow, imagine how many more people could have get touched by Osho, by his teachings, by other people in this community, by love, by acceptance, and things. So rebellion is not always the best strategy. It depends on what you want, uh, so I mean, there can be just so many forms. Adi is not rebellious, so what? So what? It doesn't matter. It's always, enlightenment is always a rebellion, but it is an internal rebellion. It is an internal rebellion, because if you want to do an external rebellion, then you have to really consider, like, what is it you want to achieve? Because if you want to bring happiness to the lives of the maximum amount of number of people, if that is going to be what you're going to try to do, in your time left on Earth. Sometimes rebellion is not the best way to go about it, right? And sometimes it's not obvious. But what is obvious is that for sure, for sometimes it's not. That's obvious. Because you can imagine a situation where it's not. It's not very difficult. So it is a question of judgment. Yeah, I don't want to be rebellious. I don't think it's the best method, and I also don't want to be rebellious because I want to live a happy and beautiful life. I really don't want. I don't like any pain. I don't want any conflict. I don't want to be a rebel. I don't want to be a revolutionary. I want you to be happy, and I want to stay kind of harmless and peaceful ideally for as long as it takes. And I want our humanity and society to finally be able to get that also. So I'm not a rebel, at least not now. Even though I understand everything about Osho's rebellion. Okay, it's a 110. I'll give a very quick opportunity to Alejandro, Tom, or Alex to say something, or yes, maybe another 15, 20 minutes. Yes, guys, go ahead.
Alex?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Hi, Artem.
Hi, Alex.
Hi. So what I've noticed lately for myself is I'm very sensitive.
Yeah.
And when someone, and I think it's always been there, but now it's like it's like bright in my face. So I have a roommate and he jokes around a lot. Yeah. And before I started doing all this, stuff with really like going really deep and accepting my feelings and stuff, before I started doing all that, we joke around a lot. And sometimes I'm noticing that now when I'm around him, when I respond to his jokes, it's completely a pretense. It's inauthentic. It's not actually how I'm feeling. And it's something I'm doing to, play into our relationship or play into our bond and be accepted by him. Because if I don't, I'm afraid, I think what it is I'm afraid I'll be alone. If I don't respond the way that he's anticipating, if I don't respond, with that humor and playfulness.
Yes.
So he's not the only person that I notice this with. It's very uncomfortable though, because it's like, well, how do I be myself? How do I just feel how I'm feeling and not fuck with other people? Not be an asshole to other people.
Okay.
That's what I've been coming up against.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same question over and over again. So here's, I mean, not for you, but in general, basically, when you start this process, then you start to get a kind of a first row view into how you really are, right?
Yeah.
And you also start to see how it controls your behavior and what you're doing some things for and why you're doing them.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
So first you see that.
Yeah.
And it's very unpleasant because you have not admitted it to yourself before.
Mm-hmm.
Only after you see it, you can stop it.
Okay.
You see? So there will be kind of a period where you still do it.
Fair.
What?
I don't think that's fair to him.
Come again?
I don't think that's fair.
Is that Justin?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's fair. You're just calling him gay.
What?
He's not admitted that he's gay.
What? Gay?
No, seriously, that's exactly what you did.
What?
No, I didn't bring anything
Alex,
up about me. No, I didn't bring anything up about me.
Alex, are you gay?
No.
Okay, well, he's not gay.
And that's my point exactly, is that you just said he's gay.
What?
You just said that.
When?
Just now.
No, he didn't. He didn't say
that.
He didn't say that word.
He said that you're gay.
No,
Justin,
he
do you
didn't.
mean? Hold on, Justin. Do you mean that I literally said that he's gay, or did I mean that he's gay? But I said
You
something else.
proposed that he was gay.
Did I really pronounce this word like Alex? You gay? Is that what I said? What did I say?
Oh my God.
Why do you think so? Why do you think I said that he's gay?
Fuck it.
Huh?
I'll find someone else.
I'm sorry, Justin. I'm really sorry.
That's not fair though. That's not fair to him. That's
Oh.
not fair.
Oh, it would be very unfair, but I don't think Alex. Do you feel like
That's not fair to him?
Mhm.
Justin, I appreciate what you're saying. I wasn't talking about
You
my
called
sexuality,
him
though.
gay, and he's not gay.
Justin, I wasn't talking
That's
about
your
my
fucking fault.
Okay. Okay.
You hear me?
Yeah.
That's your fault. It's
Mhm.
not his fault.
Okay.
That's your
I do.
fault.
I hear you. Yeah.
Fuck y'all. Fuck all y'all.
Okay. Well, I mean,
That was so strange.
it's well, I mean, Justin, again, like if you would like to speak to me, we can speak one on one. I apologize that you find this upsetting. I think that it is difficult for Justin right now. I'm not sure like where this came from, but well, Alex, regardless, you can be gay, you can be straight. I don't care. You can be bi. Like you can
We
have
weren't even talking about sexuality.
You can have 2 dicks, 3 dicks, and 5 vaginas. I don't care about any of that. Okay, so let's continue
Yes.
our conversation. So where were we?
You were saying that you can only stop this
Right.
seeing into your behavior once you've seen it.
Yes. So and I'm not talking about stopping all behavior, right?
Right.
I'm talking about stopping the behavior which comes from insecurity. Right?
Yeah.
Because there's no because joking with your friend doesn't have to come from insecurity.
Yes.
It's
Right.
not that.
Yeah.
It's not about your ability to joke or your ability to be intimate, which I think maybe that's what Justin meant. Which maybe that's what he saw. Maybe he thought that I am attacking your when you say like I'm being intimate with my guy friend and I'm saying, well, you first will see the behavior and then you need to stop it. And he thought, oh my God, like you're trying, like maybe that he thought that I'm trying to like put something between you. But still strange. Like you called him gay, he's not gay. That's weird. But anyway, no, actually, yeah, that couldn't have been it. I don't know. Anyway, so kind of you can be very close, you can be very intimate, you can be laughing together, you can be joking together, but it has to come naturally and authentically, because everything has its time. Because what I'm speaking about when I speak about stopping the behavior, I don't mean that some of the behaviors are bad. No, not at all. What I mean is that let's say you're very, very sad, but you have this self-image. You sort of convince yourself that you have to be this all the time, this cheery guy, because that's how you get this like validation, whatever, from people. And friend says something, and you see, like you witness in your mind how automatically you go into like this cheerful program, even though you really don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though you really don't want to, and that is what you observe, right?
Yeah.
You kind of observe your own programming, don't you?
Yeah, it's exactly like that. It's especially like that when I start laughing. I'll laugh, and it's like this is to be accepted right now. This
and at the
is to
same
be
time, you
validated.
realize that there's a part of this, right? So basically, my advice would actually be that's why I said again, like same answer every time. The reason I say is that first you see the behavior, then only you can stop the behavior. Why I always kind of make this point is that so that you don't try to deliberately change your behavior. The change of your behavior comes from seeing itself, comes from witnessing itself. You see? You see, so kind of you will witness you doing things that are inauthentic,
Yeah.
and they will bother you.
Yeah.
And then you will kind of slowly do it less, just because it bothers you, because it's not
Yeah.
true to you, right? But you
Yeah.
will, because it's like a habit.
Okay.
You see?
All right. This has already started happening.
Yes. So first you have to see,
Yeah.
then you can stop. You
Yeah.
see? Because if you try to stop, it's oftentimes not clear what it is exactly, and oftentimes it's a combination, because it could be like he said something funny and you're laughing and you're authentically laughing, but at the same time you feel, oh my god, I'm really concerned about how I'm looking right
Right.
now. I'm
Exactly.
really
Yeah.
concerned about it. So does it mean that you left only?
Right.
No. You see, that
Mhm.
is why if you try to deliberately kind of put your behavior, it's a trap. You don't want to do this. You just want to be aware of more, and
Great.
the parts which you're aware of and which are not true to you, you will notice that they naturally go away, right? So
Yeah.
you will naturally go into the position either of laughing and not thinking about how you look like from the outside, or not laughing because you laughed only because how
Yeah.
because you want it to look a specific way. But initially you don't know which way it will go. You have to let
Yeah.
you can only drop the behavior that wasn't true to you, that was false to you, that you didn't want in retrospect. When you see it, when you accept it, you understand what it was, you don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. That's so great. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. You're welcome. Tyler says, I find that one eventually outgrows the rebellious mindset, as rebellion is typically driven by internal conflict. Well, yes, but I'm pretty sure the Osha's rebellion was not driven by internal conflict. So there are different types of rebellion. And I don't have any internal conflict when I'm speaking about the ills of society, and I don't experience any anger. I actually restrain myself. The degree to which I can, the verbiage with which I could describe the society could get so provocative, so ugly, that almost everybody will get cringe when they hear me. Right? I don't do this. Maybe I'll do this more. But when I do this, when I speak, when I do this one on one, for example, I don't feel any anger. You see? So it's a different kind of rebelliousness. It's basically the Osha's rebelliousness we were speaking about. It's not internal conflict. It's like, how harsh do you want the truth to sound? How provocative you want to be? How much, like how much negative attention you also want to attract? You see, and we live in a society where right now, like some time ago, when you were a provocateur, uh, I think it was better. Because right now we are so polarized. Then if you're provocative, then it's just that, like, one group is going to hate you for sure if you're provocative right now. So I I want people to hate me for particularities, but not right off the bat. So I think that sort of there's some warmth and love and depth that everyone can benefit from, right? And then there's time and place to be rebellious. So I don't consider Osho to be particularly rebellious in his speech. Actually, I don't think that his speech is particularly harsh. What I find objectionable is how he dealt with his community engaging in conflict with the neighboring community. So I don't think it was needed. So I wasn't speaking specifically about the rebellious in speech, but I'm speaking more about how he encouraged his followers to be rebellious, and then their followers started to be rebellious in action and in a stupid egoic way, which brought the whole community down, which is what I think happened. And again, I could be totally wrong again. So right? And if he really was poisoned and died at the age of 53, I mean, imagine if he lived until 90, like Krishnamurti or whatever. Like, how many more people could have been touched by him? So, like, was it stupid? Yeah, it depends on the goal. If your goal is to live as long as you can and help as many people as you can, then why would you, right? But if your goal is to like live a very bright life, it can be revolutionary too. It's not my cup of tea. I don't want any violence. Okay, awesome. Alejandro, maybe very quickly, if you want to bring up something like
I think that we can leave it for next time. It's alright if we leave it for next time. I mean, it's 1 hour and 25 minutes already. I don't know. It's your call anyway.
Are you sure?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I've also noticed, and I've been told that I speak too much. Which I do. I speak so much.
I'm not going to say you don't.
I need to allow you to speak more. Yes.
Yeah. Well, next time.
Alexandra is asking, what is freedom? What is true freedom? Let's discuss it next time. Yeah, I think Alejandra is right. It's been an hour 25. Let's discuss it on Friday, my dear Alexandria. And why don't you join? Why don't you use this link? I mean, not this specifically, but next Friday we're gonna have another link like this. Why don't you join, and then we can have a conversation. And the same applies to Tyler, by the way. What I meant by rebellious mindset is blah, 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 blah. Wonderful, beautiful. Why don't we? Oh, Tyler, I remember you. Yes, I remember you. I think you joined one of our meetings about a week or two ago. Yes, I remember you. It was wonderful. Why don't you join again? I'm just running out of time. I'm a little tired. So why don't you join again? And we can have a discussion. And Alexandria was also asking why freedom is the highest value. It is, and it can be also a wonderful discussion, and I really want you to join and have it. So beautiful question. Yes, Tyler, yes, that's you. Yes, I remember you. Yes. So why don't you guys both join, and we have this wonderful discussion on Friday. I think it will be interesting. And by the way, thank you very much for great questions. These are really great questions. Really great questions. I really appreciate it. All right. Well, I think it's enough for today. Thank you very much. Thank you guys. Thank you for being together with me. Thank you for everybody who's joined. Thank you for everybody who's watching. So just to remind you that this is going to be the last week when I'm doing it 4 times a week, and please feel free to join, follow me on Facebook, Reddit, other platform, like, subscribe, share, support me on Patreon, all this stuff. So I will. By the way, we also have a Discord community where people discuss this without my presence, and I'm sure that sometimes it goes much better. so I thank you again for joining, and I will see you on Friday. Okay. Thank you guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Take care of yourselves. Alex, hang in there. There's more to come.
Yes.
Meditate and have fun.
I will. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, guys. Bye. Bye.